And then you have the example of Star Wars, who completely screwed up where the storyline could have gone. I mean, I think Star Wars is, because the franchise has spanned such a huge amount of time, it was more vulnerable to being mangled than shorter, more compact story arcs would have been. And by shorter and compact, I don't just necessarily mean shorter and compact in terms of in-universe time. I mean in terms of from concept to completion, because it's easier to maintain that cohesion while you're pushing forward on a single idea. And when it's one creative team. Now, don't get me wrong, there's all kinds of advantages to having other input into a creative team. But somebody has to be in charge of the overriding concept of it. And it can be a case of, well, the three of us got together, discussed where we wanted this project to go before we started working on it. This is where we decided we wanted it to go. And Phil here is going to be the continuity ramrod kind of thing on it. But you need that kind of focus somewhere if you don't want your project to lose cohesiveness. And as Honor's non-death indicates, even when you have someone totally in control of the concept and where it's going to go and so forth, events that happen along the way can change destinations. Okay. It's kind of like, let's say that you're doing an ongoing TV series, okay, and you lose a central character, whether it's to it turned out that he did something unfortunate 60 years ago that he's now going to be driven out of public life over, or somebody dies, or they simply have competing opportunity / obligation that means they have to be written out of the show. Okay, it's how you write them out can have a major impact on where the series as a whole goes. Okay, there was an entire story arc that relied on probably on having that character in it. Now there's that character shaped hole that you're leaking atmosphere through, and you have to figure out how you're gonna patch it and where you're gonna go. And that can happen to novels as well. I think it is more likely to happen to something like a movie franchise or a TV franchise than to novels, because the characters in our books don't get to quit. Okay, they can't hand in their resignation. You can't write about me anymore, kind of thing. So in that sense, we have more control. It would, I think, be fair to say that we have near total control of our imaginary universe, and somebody working in a team to produce a TV series or a movie franchise doesn't, because there are so many other factors that have to be considered. There are so many other human beings who may or may not cooperate with where you wanted to go. They may inconveniently die on you while you're working. In a novelist's world, what can happen is he can die, and then the novel line either doesn't get finished or somebody else finishes it for him. That's one reason in a lot of ways that I'm glad that I got Honor to the retirement point. Because if something happens to me tomorrow, you're not left unresolved with, where is this character that I really, really loved? Okay, what happened to her? And you don't have to have somebody else telling you what happened to her. And when something like that happens, there's always a little bit of a question of, well, is that really where David would have taken Honor? Right. Is that where, even if it seems totally satisfying, a lot of people have this little, but it's not where she would have, you know what I'm saying?
So are there any other plans going forward for Honor?
Well, yes and no. Eric and, okay. I know
Because
that.
I know some people distinguish the mainline storylines
Yeah.
versus the offshoot
Yeah,
storylines.
yeah. Well, it's like you and I were talking a while ago. I understand exactly why people do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The problem is that as the writer, I don't. And what I mean by that is if you are not following the side lines, then you are missing elements that are critical to where the center storyline is going. See, the way I see it, okay, in really bad military fiction, okay, the viewpoint character is present in every single major engagement of the war.
Okay.
Okay. It was a problem that Forster had when he wrote the Hornblower character. Okay. Hornblower can never be the critical commander in an actual battle from the history that Forster was writing about, because he wasn't.
Right.
Okay. So you have to write about characters who are secondary characters in some ways. Historically, if you're writing historical fiction, characters who are historically secondary characters behind. It's a little bit of the situation we're having with Travis in the Manticore Ascendant novels, because he didn't leave a lot of footprints down the road outside certain esoteric circles within the Manticore Navy. So, okay, why didn't he? And that means that we are constrained in ways that we might not have been in where he can go and what he can do and how he does it, because we have this end result that's already fixed over here. Okay, well, people who write historical fiction have that problem, plus the fact that the battles are already there. Okay. So they tend to wind up writing about characters who are really good characters. They do really important things, but most of the really important things they do were invented and then integrated into what actually happened.
Okay.
Okay. The same sort of thing can happen in fiction. But in really bad fiction, the way that they solve it is their character is there for every major critical turning point in the book. That's my viewpoint character. That's your window into events. And therefore, my character has to be there at all of the moments that are really important. There could be things that everybody else thinks are important in universe, but they're not really critically important. Well, the Honor Harrington books are not just about Honor Harrington. They're about an entire period in galactic history when events are working through and there are conspiracies and there are everything else going on. And Honor is the focal figure for that. And Honor is the main character in all of that. Mm-hmm. But she can't be simultaneously commanding Home Fleet and off taking down Mesa. Okay, she can't be simultaneously on a prison planet over here and defending Trevor Star. Okay, and those are important parts of the story, even if they're not critical elements in Honor's life. Okay. And then you crank in the fact that the only way to communicate between these distant star systems is by ship, which gives you this delay on message transmission. So Honor is commanding Home Fleet over here and doesn't know whether Hinky has successfully beaten off the Solarian League attack on
Okay.
And you got all of this going on. So my solution to it is to write stories about these other events that are focused on other characters. Mm-hmm. So you get Avars Terekhov in the Shadow Saganami. Now that was supposed to be the first novel in the second story arc when Honor was supposed to die.
Okay.
The Shadow Saganami was going to be the point at which you meet the folks who are going to be the ship commanders when Honor's
Later on.
kids come along. Helen Zilwicki, that whole Junior, that whole crew. That's where you're supposed to have met them there, and Service of the Sword. That's where you're really meeting. So, in a sense, that was, in my mind, a different series because it was phase 2 of the major series.